Katie's going to really dive in and we're going to talk about content. And I really want you to think about what she's saying and the whole way through. And we're going to talk at the end about application, but I really want you to be thinking about how what Katie says applies to your brand, to your company or your business. All right. So as you're going through, I want you to be jotting down notes of how you can begin to customize this to you, because that's going to be our discussion at the end that we have. All right.
I'm so excited. I really am so excited to jump in. Yesterday, actually, I was doing this live training. We're working with an incredible company called Jordan Essentials. And I had this opportunity yesterday to go live and to answer questions. It was a very informal Q&A. And I noticed that a lot of the women in there were like really getting overwhelmed with just general questions that are very, very just common concerns we have with Instagram. Anything from our bio and the number of characters to how to create a reel. And at one point in the training, I just very honestly said, it is one step. We just need to have courage to take the first step. And in taking courage to take one step, it gives us enough strength to actually take the next step, and then the next and the next. And I compared it to when I was an English or a reading teacher years ago. I remember getting ready to teach my students about writing a term paper. And it was a 7 to 8 page paper. They were 7th grade. It was the first time that they'd ever written anything so long in their lives before. And in the process, the very first time I would introduce all of the things from the note cards to their bio or their bib cards to their thesis statements, they were deer in headlights. The thought of writing an entire term paper, 7 pages long, was completely foreign. It was completely overwhelming, and it was completely intimidating. I mean, wouldn't you be too? You kind of position yourself. Even if you remember the first time you ever wrote a term paper, it was really overwhelming. But then as we started the process, I guided them through one step at a time. And so we would be working through, okay, very first thing we're going to talk about how to write an intro. And then we're going to talk about how to write a thesis statement. And we're going to take some time on that thesis statement because we want to make sure we're clearly going to understand exactly why Marie Antoinette was 1, 2, and 3. And we're going to prove those 3 points throughout the thesis statement. And before we knew it, we were taking this process one day at a time. We were going through the outline. We were working together. We were tweaking issues that we were having. We were putting all of these pieces in order. And before we knew it, all of these students had this beautiful term paper, and they were proud and they were excited about it. And that really is the way we have to approach our goals in the new year. We have to understand that we can be overwhelmed immediately, or we can just start taking the first step. And then we can build on it and clarify it and tweak it and get better and have the courage to take what I call the SVD. And that is I'm going to say it, shitty first draft. So if you ever look at your content and say, man, that was terrible. I mean, Melanie and I can look back circa 2012 to 2014, and we can be like, wow, it was a whole 2 years of SVD, so SFD. So ask yourself, like, do I have the courage to just take one step? And so today we're going to really dive into content. And it's almost like you want to look at what I'm going to be teaching as sort of a 2-step, 3-step process. The first step in creating really quality content is making sure that we're clarifying what our USP is. And so all of us have something to sell. We all have a product, a service, or experience that we want to get out to our potential client. But in order to do that, we really have to clarify why somebody is actually going to want to follow us, why they're going to learn from us, why they're going to be excited to hear more from us. Sorry, I'm trying to admit people and do this at the same time. So let's go ahead and dive in. I do have slides today. So I'm going to go ahead and click on them. And I'm going to go into present mode. I hope that this works all right. I'm going to move my friends. We're going to go up here. Okay. All right, so two things that we're really going to be doing today. Number one, we really want to understand the concept. So the first thing, and I apologize for the typo, I don't think I was seeing that very clearly. Understand the concept. First thing we're going to understand is USP, the unique selling proposition. The second thing that we're going to do is we're going to talk about the 4 hash a little bit more, because I really feel like I want to keep repeating this over and over and over, because it needs to stick. Because if we can stick the 4 hash, people are really going to get it. They're going to stick. And then we're going to go into Melanie and what she does great. And she's going to walk us through the actual application for it. So before we go into the how-tos, the first thing that we need to identify is the story that we tell ourselves about where we are in our business and what we believe about selling. Now, I'm pretty sure that everybody on this call right now can speak of a personal experience where they felt like they were almost bombarded by somebody who desperately wanted to sell. I will never forget the time my little sister and I were walking through the mall. It was Century 3 Mall. It has since been basically run down, but we were at the mall and this man was selling skincare. And my little sister had had some acne at the time, and the man was basically chasing her down the mall, telling her she needed to